My grandfather, Jack Carter, came out to California and El Segundo in the early 20s, at least 1923, and worked at the Standard Oil refinery. My father, Don Carter, was born here in 1927. Went to school in El Segundo, lived in El Segundo his whole life, and also worked at the Standard Oil refinery. I was born in 1951. Lived here my whole life, and I also worked at the Chevron refinery. It was Standard Oil when I first hired on, then became Chevron, and just retired like 6 years ago. Now, the way Chevron came here, or Standard Oil at the time, is they were looking for a place they could offload crude oil, and there was really nothing here at the time. I mean, they were doing some dry farming and that, so Chevron bought a chunk of land for the original refinery. And the original people that came out, a lot came from Franklin, Pennsylvania, because there was a big oil business back there. And the original people lived in tents along Bologna Avenue, which is now El Segundo Boulevard, and eventually started the city. Streets got their name. My street, Virginia Street, was named after the first refinery manager's wife. And then you have Richmond Street, which is after the Richmond, California, which is where Chevron's first refinery was. We have Standard Street and Franklin Street after Franklin, Pennsylvania. Concord, Chevron had facilities up in Concord, California also. Then the city started building from there, put in Richmond Street. They had the downtown. Most of the buildings were all wood sidewalks and stuff. And time progressed. I mean, people bought lots, usually full of weeds and stuff like that, and built their house. I know my grandpa built 2 on Virginia Street. So, and the house that I knew him in is still there. Growing up in El Segundo, being as a lot of the people here worked for Standard Oil at the time, everybody knew who you were, it seemed. So no matter where you were at, there's someone, oh, there's one of them little Carters over there. It was actually real good, I thought. People kind of looked out for who you were. I remember my parents telling stories of me sleeping in a baby buggy in the front yard. You wouldn't do that today, but back then you had neighbors who were there or people you worked with who would make sure you stayed there too. When I was growing up, I went to Center Street School. We would always go down to the school to play softball. We would play basketball down there. On rainy days, we'd go down to play football and come home all muddy, so your mom would have to hose you off or she'd allow you in the house. And also, we would go down to the original recreation park, which was a lot smaller, especially in the summer, because they'd have a flag football league. You go down there and play caroms, which you could do at least at Center Street School too, because they always had a classroom open during the summer with rec park people down there to keep the kids occupied. I had 5 boys who born and raised in this city. You get involved in their activities also. So a lot of sports. I did sports for 25 years in this town, and you meet a lot of people everywhere. Sometimes you see them now, sometimes you don't, but you'll see them at Richmond Street Fair, at the fair in the park that we have, the hometown fair. There are still people I went to school with who live in El Segundo, so I run into them on occasions. I see people that I used to work with. They're either living in town or I just see them downtown when I'm out walking around. It's a great little city to walk around in and explore.